So now we will learn about Java arrays. So basically arrays in Java are a collection of similar data types under a single variable name which can be accessed by their position. So like the we have can define array as follows. We will write the data type, then followed by we will in square brackets we will write either the length of the data type, or we will leave them blank if you want them, if you do not want to define the length of the data type. So the first is data type square brackets, then space, name of the array, that's the variable name because array is also in variable, is equal to data type, for example integer number, and then square brackets the length we will specify. Or we can directly write data type square bracket space variable name is equal to, then the collection of all the items of that data type which we want to form an array should be separated by commas, and they should be held together in the curly braces, which are the same that are used to denote the starting and ending of a block. So we can define the array as follows in the both two ways. The first one is when we do not know what contents we need to put, and the second is hard-coded content, that is we have predefined this is the content and this is the array. The array is stored by a address or a reference address or memory address in the main memory. Now we can store data in an array, but array is a collection of items of similar type. So many times we will need to actually put something in an array. So we can directly write name of the array. For example, if the array name is n, then in square brackets we can specify the positioning, and then we can type is equal to and then any value which you want. Note that each statement in Java ends with semicolon, as you must have got familiar with, and this is how the arrays work. Also we can iterate through the array using for loop, while loop, and for each loop. Now coming to the arrays method, this is how you are supposed to define an array. So I would define an intl array of integer type holding all integers. Then I have specified the 0 index to be 1 2 3. Now the main thing to remember is whether it is strings, whether it is arrays, or any sequential memory storage in Java, the starting index is 0 and it goes till length of the particular data type -1, whether it is strings or integer array or any kind of array. So basically when you take the length of any array, it will come out to be 5, but the respective indexes be 0 1 2 3 and 4. So at 0 index the first item will be stored. So this is the thing that you need to keep in mind, as this is the common source of bugs that many developers make, is to confuse with index. So if I have defined an array of length 5 and I have just inserted at its first position or 0 index 123 number, the integer 123, then if I try to take out the third position, so it will give me null, which means it is not yet defined. Similarly, I can have a string array, so I have named it as list, and it has two strings, string 1 and string 2. Respectively, I can access them by typing the variable name and then followed by the index or the position -1 in square brackets. Then we can also use a for loop to iterate or to go through an array. So what is iteration? Basically iteration is a process that has to be repeated. So we are processing some output on every element of the array one by one. So first I have defined an ints array which has the following integers. Then I have got the length of this ints array in the variable name length of array, which is an integer, by running the dot length property of any data type. So you can type in string dot length. Similarly, you can also run properties inside members of an array. For example, if I type list and then get 0 position, which will give me this string 1, and then I can type dot, and then I can easily get the length like this. So I can get the length as follows. Now we have now there's a for loop in which first we type the keyword for, space in brackets we first define the starting counter, that is I have taken and defined an integer I to be 0, so it will start from 0. Then the condition which has to be checked, for which the for loop will keep on running. So as long as this is true, the for loop will run. As this is evaluates to false, it will exit the for loop, or the for loop will terminate. And this is the updation counter which will process each time we go through the for loop. So in the for loop we have a string of statements. So what happens is I is initialized to 0. So here I is 0, then it will execute the following statements. Then again it will do this operation on I, that is increment it. You can also write I minus minus to increment, or like you can type I plus plus to increment it by 1 and I minus minus to decrement it by 1. This statement is equivalent to I plus is equal to 1, or to be very simple, I is equal to I plus 1. So moving on, now we print iterate through the array. So I gets the value of 0 for the first time, then after all the statements inside the for loop are executed, it gets the value of 1 as it has been incremented by this statement, and this continues till I is less than length of array. Then I am printing out all the elements and their indexes respectively. Similarly, using a while loop is the other type of loop that is used for iteration. While loop takes only a single statement in the brackets, and the while loop will run till this condition evaluates to true. It is like while this is happening, so it's while this condition. And here you have to specify the increment counter and the starting counter outside the while loop main construct, that is this brackets. Then we can also use a for each loop, which is basically we have to type the for keyword, then we can define the type of element, like int element. Since int is an integer array, we will type int element, then a semicolon, then int. So what will happen, that it will take one at a time each element, int element from the ints array that you have defined here, and it will assign that value to element, and then you can use element throughout the for loop inside it wherever you want. So let us see what is the output. Now when I run this, this is the output that is being generated. First, as I told you, taking out int tail of 3 which is not defined, it will give null. Then at index 0, list 0 will return the first item, that is string 1, and at index 1 the value is string 2. Moving on, then we run this for loop. So at I is 0 and value is 135. So this is how you can iterate through for loop. So I am printing out the index and the value of the number stored at ints I, that is that in particular index in the ints array, as follows. Then I use a while loop to check out and print value not encountered till ints y is equal to 56415, that is the third item. So value is not encountered for the 2 items, and hence 2 times it is getting printed in the output. Then I use a for each loop to print the element. So first element takes the value 135, that is the first item, or at index 0 in the ints array, and then consecutively till it ends, it just keeps on iterating. So this was all about the Java arrays in the Java language. So all the best, keep practicing, and let's continue our journey towards learning Android.